Well, welcome back to the next careers panel as part of the Centre Court Masters Festival. And as many of you viewers have already witnessed in the last few hours of day one, the sheer breadth of opportunities that there are at the world's top business schools. This panel is no different. And as you'll see, I'm joined by Dr. Alicia Turkovitz. Alicia is the Executive Director of UCLA Anderson's MFE, so Financial Engineering and Quant Finance, for those of you heading in that direction. Also looking forward to hearing what Ted Evans, the Program Director of the Finance Program at Case Western Reserve, has to say. Again, finance is just one of the many specialized masters alongside biz analytics and fintech. Holly Lawrence, the Assistant Dean in the Office of Career Success. I love the emphasis, Holly, that the school places on success, and I hope that's the message that you'll be sharing for the graduates of UMASS Isenberg. Again, a suite that includes finance, accounting, and biz analytics, this hot masters that has really emerged in recent years. Also talking about business analytics will be Jennifer Seidman, who is a career advisor at Baruch. And finally, Shady Mahalou, the Director of Corporate Relations and Professional Development for the Quantitative Economics QE program at UCLA Econ. So a great panel, lots of diverse perspectives. Perhaps we can start just with a little sense of, with such a range of options, why each of you thinks that looking beyond the MBA presents so many great opportunities for the next generation of business school students. So Alicia, if we can start with you, between financial engineering and quant finance, fairly focused, I guess, for those graduates, what's the big attraction of these programs?
So it's a great question, and I will try to keep things brief because I know we have a lot of colleagues here and I want to make sure I allow time for everyone to share. But what I'll say is, what I'm noticing is that financial roles right now are evolving at a very fast pace. Probably a lot of my panelists would agree, and are becoming much more specialized and algorithmic. And these days, especially in the area of finance, every role is expected to have some type of quantitative ability. So these roles are highly in demand. As I'm noticing, we are having a great season with a lot of employers and job opportunities. And of course, what our prospective students want to hear is they are very well compensated. So I feel like right now, quants are going to be, or they are, in high demand. And there is an increase in popularity in our types of programs because of this increased interest and desire to seek applicants with strong quant skills within finance.
Got it. Well, yes, we've started with algorithms and the quant that backs it up. Ted, I guess, you still have that core masters in finance, but introducing a program like fintech, I guess, also reflects the sort of the changing dimensions and the many different opportunities in an industry that continues to change at such a fast pace.
Right, yeah, so you nailed it. So if anyone has any interest in AI or as we know, cryptocurrencies and blockchain and those types of things, we have launched a fintech program. And my understanding, it's one of very few masters in science of fintech programs in the States. I think Europe and other countries have understood this in most recent years, but yeah, that's where a lot of the jobs are becoming very prevalent, and quite frankly, also high paying in many instances.
Right. Well, I guess we'll be looking at some of those different opportunities. Holly, finance again among them, but business analytics, we mentioned that this is also becoming a very popular area as graduates that can join the dots on a world of data.
Absolutely. So I can speak to the MSBA that we have and the jobs that our graduates pursue. But I thought I might also just say generally why we see the popularity in our specialized masters, which I think is sort of where you started the question. And we're seeing that because they're industry specific, a lot of students want to take their 4-year degree to the next level and really make themselves workforce ready. And it's certainly a shorter time of a transition between the time of graduation, and into the workforce than one might have if they were pursuing a more traditional MBA. So students really seem to know these days too that they need an advanced degree to be successful in business. And so we're just finding that a lot of our students are coming to us because they now recognize the opportunity for a clear career path through one of our specialized masters.
Holly, you have me scratching my head and wondering if at the age of 22 I really had a career plan, but your applicants and students certainly do. I mean, Jennifer, around biz analytics with presumably a fairly wide range of profiles that are then coming into the program, do you think that then by specializing, with the masters, it is that very clear statement, I might have studied a wide mix of subjects at undergrad, but now the next step of my career becomes really focused?
Absolutely. That's exactly how I would say it. It's an opportunity to just jump right into focus of where the career path they're interested in. It's an opportunity to retool, to upskill, to really take an informed decision of this is the path I'm interested in. How do I get in it, gain the skills, and get out as quick as possible? So for us, full time, they could finish in 3 semesters. So the length of time, the cost of time, it's just really beneficial and advantageous, and it provides that opportunity.
And as much as the graduates and the career path that they're pursuing, Shani, I guess, with the role that you have and sort of the corporate relations, recruiters themselves have very clear ideas about the quant skills, that ability to, whether it's analyzing data or understanding financial trends. This is very much in line with what they're looking for.
Absolutely, yes. And it's very interesting to see the growing demand in the industry, specifically in the field of data science and data analysis and the number of roles. I'm overwhelmed with the interest in the market for graduates and interviewing specifically students in the program, and I know in other programs in the industry as well. So it's exciting. And as you ask about the difference between an MBA versus a specialized master, I think this is one of the answers, is that you have an opportunity to develop a deeper understanding of an area within business, within quant, that you can then go and apply in the real world. And acquiring skills, technical skills in SQL, R, Python, that is not something that is part of the MBA, for example. So students graduate within 1 year with those specific skills that are very, someone said recently, it's not just a long-term goal that we're looking at, it's a necessity in business right now.
Right. Alicia, as we sort of emerge from the pandemic and I guess reflections on, where we want to work, how we want to work, have those traditional centers of finance that have looked for the skill sets that you were describing, have they changed or in any way became more remote and we look beyond Los Angeles, New York, and other financial centers for those opportunities?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that, because I have noticed a shift, and actually it's been really advantageous for our students. So because we're located in LA, traditionally we've had very strong ties to a lot of employers in, say, asset management, in the LA area. And now with the pandemic, I've seen a shift where, employers care less about, it's not about recruiting just in their backyard, right? Like going just to the career fair on site. In fact, if you look across programs, I don't think there were any programs in the specialized master's area that did career fairs on the ground this year. Most, if not all, did them virtually on virtual platforms. So I think the landscape is changing. And because of that, it's providing a lot of opportunities. So I've noticed this year a trend with recruiters in New York City and Chicago and San Francisco reaching out to our program, meeting with our students, interviewing and hiring them virtually. And some are just remaining remote. It depends upon the company and the type of work. Obviously, those that are, working on the trading floor need to physically be there, but a lot of the jobs are remote, and employers are much more open-minded about this sort of geographical flexibility that I think, as I mentioned, it's going to be very advantageous to our students.
Ted, if you gave me 30 seconds to explain to our viewers what blockchain was, there'd probably be an awkward silence for the entire 30 seconds. How do you as a school, I mean, you talk about, developing a fintech master's and sort of a pioneer in that space. How do you as a school anticipate those trends? I mean, 10 years ago, we didn't even really have crypto on our radar screen.
Yeah, so there's a number of ways we approach that and attack that. And so, one is ensuring that we have, and we've done a great job at it with this faculty that we have on board to lead that program. So you've got to get guys who are already on the cutting edge, who understand how to answer the blockchain question in 30 seconds and where it's going, those types of things.
Somebody can.
Right, yeah, right. So we've done a good job of that. And the other piece is, you've got to be plugged in to the marketplace, and because the bottom line is folks are coming here to get a job, right? So if the skills you're learning here in blockchain, in AI, in data science, you name it, don't match up with when you graduate and someone saying, well, you really don't have the skills. So we actually work very closely with companies and employers, their leaders, the people who are in that space working day to day, to understand what is it you need, what are the skills you're looking for, and we incorporate that into the program. Also, in addition to those same leaders, providing some experiential learning projects, things like that, that our students get involved in.
Got it. So a constant sort of dialogue, tracking the markets. And I mean, Holly, I suppose, much like we've been talking about big data for a while, and how it's sort of seeping into every aspect of our lives, including us as consumers. So, when you look at graduates of the program, how are they then thinking, well, I can, use these specialized skills in these different careers? Does it really cut across so many different industries and sectors?
Well, that's definitely what we're seeing. And across our programs, we have a fairly diverse student population. So I talked earlier about students who may have just graduated with their 4-year degree, and so they come on for that specialized master's, but we also have working professionals. So we really have a diverse range of students in our programs, and they're going into roles like business intelligence analysts, data analysts, IT analysts. We have our MSA graduates who are pursuing usually a career in tax or audit and going into public accounting, or maybe they're already working in an organization and want the CPA. And in our MFAI program, we see students who tend to work in portfolio management, fund to funds, private equity, all of them putting the skills that they've just gotten from the specialized masters pretty much immediately to use.
With what Holly's describing, Jennifer, in terms of that professional part of the applicant pool, and do you see that where people have said, yeah, early stages of my career it made sense, but clearly this is where the market's moving. We're all talking about biz analytics, and that they're using the specialized masters to then make that career transition.
100%. I mean, like Holly said, we have students that are across the spectrum of recent grads from undergrad to working professionals, like she said, and they are using it to retool and upskill. And what's unique about our business analytics program is that it's a specialized master's, and then within that, you could even specialize, right? So then you could drill down and you could do data analytics, marketing analytics, accounting analytics. So they could really fine tune and come out with a very strong skills that are really targeted for the industry they're interested in.
Right, and whether it's at UCLA, Shani, or any of the other top schools sharing this panel with us, how do you determine, well, these are maybe skills that I could learn on the job versus no, it really requires that clean break, go back to school and have this focus?
That's a great question. And I think you absolutely have to go back to school to pursue the intensity of the academics and learn from the best in the field. We have Nobel Prize winners teaching in the program and participating in educating the students. And I don't think through online learning, through a course or a boot camp, you can acquire the same knowledge in terms of the depth and the understanding and the practice. In the MQE program at UCLA, we have an applied project that is part of the curriculum, and students can apply their learning with a real company that present a business challenge to them. So they can take the learning from the classroom with the supervision of a faculty and practice their skills hands-on in the field. And so this kind of intense and complex learning experience is not something that I believe someone can acquire through a 2 weeks or a 1-month course. And therefore you need to go into one of those very inspiring institutions and pursue a master's degree that will position you. And now companies are seeking individuals with those qualifications and academic experience. So that's, I see it from the market and I see it from students and who they become once they go through some transformation in terms of their knowledge, education, and their professional being, right? Because of the education and the participation in the program.
Right. With the intensity that Shane is describing, Alicia, I mean, if we look at the class of 2021 that have taken that step, they very consciously have invested in themselves, but presumably when they started the program and the sort of the first wave of the pandemic and the uncertainty that generated, there must have been a moment of what have I done? In reality, what are the sort of outcomes that you've seen working with the class of 2021 this summer?
Yeah, so our program actually is 15 months. It starts in September and our students graduate in December. So we are graduating our class of 21. They're, getting ready to graduate as we speak. And so far I've been, as I mentioned earlier, the job market looks extremely optimistic. I'm in touch with, we have a smaller size class because of the pandemic that we had a slightly smaller class, and we do very hands-on approach with our students. So I meet with every single student and I know exactly where they're pathing and how their outcomes are looking. And I have to say firsthand that at least a third of our class already has an offer, not all, already has at least one offer. Not everybody has accepted, but it's very prolific with the opportunities. And if I look back at the class of 2020, we had also great outcomes with them as well. We had 99% fully employed within 6 months after graduating last year. So that's a good indication of what's to come. And I actually keep telling our 21s, I think your outlook looks even better than last year's. So I feel very positive that they are feeling good about their investment in this program.
Right. And if we compare, Ted, to, the financial crisis of 11, 12 years ago, has the last 18 months, of course, much uncertainty and, of course, impacted a socioeconomic level, but has it felt very different in terms of recruiters and them saying, no, we still need to hire talent. We're not pulling back from our recruiting targets.
Yeah, so, as everyone else has experienced, at the height of the pandemic and shortly thereafter, everyone was saying, we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know what we're going to do with internships. We don't know what we're going to do with careers. That, in my opinion, at least my experience, has really opened up. I'm getting a lot more calls, for internships and also for careers. I'm seeing the boom kind of come back around. With respect to finance, even analytics. There was a time, just a year ago where I led all of the specialty programs. So analytics, finance, supply chain. And so I know a bit about those. So we're seeing a resurgence, post-COVID resurgence, I'd call it. I've got to think a bit to know if it's the same level as pre-COVID, but we're good about the direction. We feel good about the direction it's going right now.
Okay, so and with your knowledge of supply chain, we'll all be able to send you an email if we're worried about gifts arriving for Thanksgiving or for the holidays, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Holly, given the sort of qualifications you then emerge from Isenberg, I mean, irrespective of the ups and downs of the economy, is it that, that there's just a longer-term reality that you always sort of come out ahead, having made that sort of investment and the skills that you develop?
Well, that's what we believe, certainly. And I'd say that's what we're seeing. I think we've already said some of this in this panel so far, but just to underscore, the job market remains really strong in business analytics. And it's a fast growing, always moving industry. You know, demand for analysts really at every level of the organization within every company. We find that students are doing very well in analytics. The organizations, they need people to manage data and analyze the results of, they're seeing an increase in productivity and efficiency and cost savings by having employees who can do that work. In our MSA program, our students are in high demand. There really are more jobs than candidates in that area. So yeah, we're seeing things moving along very, very strongly.
Right. And with the international appeal of your programs, I mean, Jennifer, I suppose if we go back to 2020, there were even issues of, you know, getting visas and let alone the travel restrictions that international students would face. Do you feel that those are opening up too, and there's perhaps a renewed confidence in terms of, you know, studying at Baruch in the US and then being able to pursue a career beyond the program?
Yes, for sure. And even during the pandemic, we had students just studying remotely from their home countries. So we didn't necessarily lose them all. They were just studying differently.
Right.
And I've been around at the Zicklin School of Business for a long time. And I do remember the recession, the Great Recession, and that felt like a long haul to get through it. This feels like a pretty quick bounce back, right? Whereas last summer, it felt a lot of uncertainty. This summer, it feels like a boom. Anecdotally, you know, we're seeing students, you know, we're right in the middle of recruiting season where we're requesting employers to give our students till mid-November to make decisions. And they're making offers saying, can you give us a week, you know, can you tell us in a week? Like they're just so afraid of losing talent that they're really sort of pushing the students to make decisions early. So I feel like all that combined makes it a great landscape for all students, including international students, to come back and feel confident that they will have opportunity here.
Well, Holly talks about more jobs than candidates, and Jennifer, that sort of, you know, fast turnaround. I suppose I appreciate even more the time that the five of you are spending with us. It must be a very busy but a very rewarding time. Shani, has that sort of shift, and of course, as we've used Zoom and other platforms, has that actually extended the reach of graduates in terms of they're no longer just looking at career opportunities in a particular region, but are able to access companies nationally or all over the world?
Absolutely, yes. And I think that's a very exciting time to work in our profession with students and to sense that level of flexibility and willingness, and the boundaries has shifted and faded a lot because of the pandemic. So seeing them coming to the office and into the program very open. And when I ask them, they might give me 5 different countries that they're willing to work at beyond where they're from. For example, I worked with a student from India and she provided Singapore and the UK and some other regions. And it is exciting for me to know that I can think about students differently and not label them by their geographic boundaries and where they're willing to work. And many jobs are remote right now, so we have a lot of those come in as well. So that provides an additional a pipeline of opportunities for students. And I will also mention that we have a separate strategy for our corporate relations in Asia Pacific, and we work with an individual there that has established our office for the MQE program. So it's exciting to work with global companies that are specifically seeking to hire individuals that pursue higher education and graduate education in the US.
Right. With colleagues, Alicia, in the MFE program, the sort of journey that they take, you know, that they said, well, you know, my focus, quant finance, financial engineering, but nevertheless, presumably you're then helping them to find the right fit, the right next step, and not even just as they graduate, but you know, in the years that will follow. How does that work, that sort of guidance and support that you provide?
That's a great question. So I like to say that we provide support every step of the way. That's what I tell our students, and we have a fantastic career team. So we have 3 individuals with deep expertise in this area of quant finance. And we start very early. I imagine a lot of the panelists do the same. So recruiters come fast and early on before our students even start their classes, believe it or not. So we have a pretty rigorous summer curriculum. And within that summer curriculum, we prepare for, I heard the word boot camp earlier. We do boot camps, Python, basic math statistics refreshers, R programming, SQL, and then we have a whole career series just to get students ready before they even meet with employers. So just the basics. And then once they start the program, we require that all of our students meet with one of the members on the career team and or myself for a one-on-one. As I mentioned earlier, we really get to know our students very well. We believe in the value of that relationship, and we are able to sort of individualize and tailor how we support them based upon what they want to be doing next. And so that really only happens by supplementing the workshops and the group activities with individualized appointments throughout their time in the program. And then, of course, we give them the opportunities to hear directly from alums and employers. We do lots of panels. And so that helps also supplement. So they're being able to sort of refine what it is that they want to do. A lot of our students come in and they're not quite sure. And I say it's a great problem to have when you can come into a program and think you want to do quant research and then realize at the end, oh, wait, I can also do data science. So, so we try to help them figure out what the paths are available to them and then hone in on ones that make the most sense based upon their individual interests.
Right. Alicia mentions the idea of alum TED, which I'm sure play a key role in Case Western graduates that are in different companies, different parts of the world, the different industries. How are you able to leverage this idea of belonging to a network and the role that the alums can play to help to identify opportunities for your students?
Yeah, first and foremost, the one thing that we teach the students that come here is it's about building relationships. And, we don't even tout, networking events. I tell them, think about how you're going to create a relationship with someone. So, and we get really into detail around that. And then the other piece is, so I'm an alum. I came back to Case honestly because of the relationship I had with Case after I went to industry and worked for a number of years. And that kind of speaks to the relationships that the faculty and staff have with students. So we have alumni come in and from the beginning of recruitment, we'll have visitation days. So folks come in, alums meet them, and then that continues on through while they're here. They plug into alums if they say, I'm interested in a particular space in finance or operations. We can help them identify, here's an Amazon guy, who's an alum. And we are very active in that. And then also we have students paired up one-on-one with mentors. And so a lot of the mentors are also alums. So we have a lot of touch points where we keep people involved. We're like everybody else, of course, we have a database of alums, but we really try to get the alums involved in a very real way. And I'd say probably, 2 to 3 days of my week is meeting a new alum who's, some senior guy at some organization and getting him back into the fold where maybe they haven't been in the past. So we really work hard at it.
Right. Yeah, no, it's such an incredible resource. And internships can also then be that opportunity to open a door. Holly, across the different programs at Isenberg, do you build in internships or company projects to give them that exposure and then possibly, open the door for subsequent career outcomes?
Absolutely. We do find that, in the one-year program, it's very intensive and it moves quickly. And so students have to make a decision whether they want to take the time for an internship or maybe a co-op where they're pursuing an internship type experience while they're also taking course credit. It's a lot to juggle, but we have lots of opportunities. And like others have said here, we have one-to-one coaching. So students are given the choice and they work directly with a dedicated career coach to make decisions that are really right for them based on what they want to do next and whether they are actually currently working or not. So we have a number of students who are in a part-time capacity in our MSA or MSBA. And so they're already working. So again, it's a diverse population. And so there are a variety of opportunities and possibilities, but we are prepared to support the internship opportunity. And we have the coaches who are working with those students to help them find the right fit for sure.
I mean, just the idea of one-on-one coaching, it's an incredible investment and resource that your schools are providing. And, you know, Alicia had said,
Yes.
for every step of the way. Jennifer, given your role as a career advisor, talk us through, you know, sort of sitting down with a student for the first time, they share their expectations. How are you then working with them to look at either skill sets, but even maybe a value system and you know, the sort of areas where they might truly then thrive and flourish in the next steps of their career?
Yes, of course. So we're in a unique position also. We provide one-on-one career coaching. We have dedicated 5 full-time coaches on staff, plus an employer relations team. So we are, you know, we're here to serve the students and meet them wherever they're at. I mean, I think we really pride ourselves on being student-centered. So a student comes into my office, the first question is, you know, how can I support you? Right? Tell me your story. Where are you coming from? Where do you want to go? What's your goal? And then we work together in figuring out a strategy of how to maximize their time and find opportunities, whether it's to connect with alumni or meet with an academic advisor to, you know, really figure out those elective classes or whatever it is. We do a ton of programming. And we've always, even before the pandemic, we really met students in any capacity where they're at. So we've been working remotely even before the pandemic because you have greater reach, especially for working professionals. We have students come into our office for the one-on-one. We'll do whatever it takes. So certainly there's that transactional work of resumes and cover letters and LinkedIn profiles. But then it's really about how to tell your story, how to connect with people, how to build relationships. I always call it, you know, you're working on creating all your own personal career ambassadors. The more people that know you and know what you want, the more that things just happen serendipitously, right? You have a conversation with somebody where you want to learn about what they do, and now you're on their radar and somebody on their team just gave notice, and now there's an entire hidden job market that's unearthed for you because people know you and know what you want. So it's really about helping them get that message out, how to articulate it, how to connect. And we find that that's super supportive. And then for us, career services is for life with the Zicklin School of Business. So even after they graduate, there's no fee. They could continue working with us for as long as they want.
Which is an incredible commitment. I mean, just as a reality check, Shani, you know, the UCLA students like, you know, I've got an appointment with Shani. She's the director of corporate relations. One phone call from her, I'll get the hottest restaurants in Los Angeles, but also, I'll, you know, they'll just open up the doors. It's hard work, and you might be providing the level of support that Jennifer's describing, but they'll really have to put in the time to create those opportunities.
Absolutely. And I loved everything, Jennifer, you said, and I agree. And it's very inspiring, the work that you're doing. And it's a lot of work keeping in touch with, and we have to be relationship builders ourselves. And so everything that we ask the students to be, we have to model for them. And I think that's the key to our success, is to build relationships, to open doors. Sometimes it takes time and opportunities won't come right away, but months later, the same employer will call and you say, I'm ready to hire. And, you know, we had a similar call yesterday for someone wanting to hire 10 of our December grads, right? So, but it took time to cultivate the relationship and to build that momentum. So a lot of hard work and being intentional about our relationship with our students and asking the right questions, like Jennifer said, and meet them where they are at, and specifically connect them. Sometimes it's about connecting them, not just with opportunities, but with individuals, with mentors, with alumni that went through the same journey and overcome those challenges, so they get inspired. And also visit with the ones that do not show up, because I believe there's different ways to go about your graduate education. Some tackle it with a lot of passion and dedication to succeed, and they have a very clear goal, and others they don't know yet, like Lisa has said. So our role is to find them as well and make sure that we bring them in and make sure that they get the return on the investment on their education as well.
Right. Ted has emphasized that importance placed on networking, and Jennifer, thinking in terms of being your own sort of personal brand ambassador. Alicia, has the way that we've networked, just given the last 18 months, has that changed? The way that we might use LinkedIn, the way that we might reach out to people?
Oh yeah, I would absolutely say I've seen shifts. I've been in higher education for almost 20 years. And the past few years has been a game changer. I think we've all alluded to it in various ways. And I think, again, that really provides a lot of opportunity. I know I'm reinforcing that message, but as you've heard from all the panelists, it's a great market right now. The jobs are abound. And I think a lot of that has to do with the ability to connect much more easily than in the past, right? So if you look at traditional career services, a couple of years ago, everything was brick and mortar. Employers came, met with students in person, or, it would be meetings on site. And now, there's this ability to connect with everybody across both the United States and internationally. So we also alluded to, building relationships outside of the US as well. And we also have strong ties in countries outside of the US, although most of our students do prefer to work in the US after graduation. And also with LinkedIn, we do a lot of programming around LinkedIn, and that was one of the part of the boot camps before they even arrived, that we want to make sure they're very proficient on how to use LinkedIn, making sure their profile, it's like the new resume, right? So instead of sending a resume, it's like your LinkedIn profile is what most attracts the employers. And alternatively, because I also help on the employer relations side, I also see that a lot of employers and companies are shifting to, instead of, posting their jobs on job posting sites, that's becoming a bit more dated. And now a lot of it is about who you know and those connections from LinkedIn. So I would absolutely say that the platform has changed, and I think in a way that's very beneficial to our students.
Right. As a Case alum, the school, was so impressed, Ted, with your background that they came back and offered you the position as the program director of the finance program. That's right. But, Shani was saying she gets a call from a company, they've worked that relationship, and now we want 10 of your graduates. What do you think employers most appreciate about students and the graduates from Case Western?
I think specifically at Case Western, it's what they're learning in the classroom, kind of the hands-on work. Again, keeping in mind that the vast majority of the kind of bigger employers, we keep a close tabs on in terms of having conversations. We aren't unlike, right, any other school where there's bound to be a company that says, yeah, we don't really recruit there, right? Every school has that company. So it's about deepening the relationships at the companies that value what your student brings, and ours bring kind of this, practicality, depth of analysis, understanding, how to view and approach real life cases, their ability to perform on projects. All of those things kind of factor in how our students are viewed. And quite frankly, and I'll kind of tout our finance faculty, who twice have been voted the best finance faculty in the country. And that's saying a lot for Case Western when you can say that about the finance faculty. And so that's another thing. They know the learning that they're going to get from the faculty at Case Western. So, those are my quick views of kind of what separates our students and what they value.
Right. In introducing you, Holly, to this webinar, I talked about a job title and an Office of Career Success. So I'd love to come back to that. With all of the different sort of wonderful outcomes that everyone is describing for graduates, how do you, at Isenberg, how do you define success at that personal and individual level?
That's a great question. So I'll actually step back just a little bit and say something about the Office of Career Success. It's relatively new in Isenberg. So I've been in my position for about a year and a half, and our dean And Massey has 5 priorities, and one of them is enabling career success for all Isenberg students. I'm from the faculty in the business communication program, and the Office of Career Success is made up of our Career Center and the business communication program. So what we are doing to enable career success for our students, and I think this ultimately leads to the answer to your question of how we define it, is that we are leveraging the expertise of both. So our students, when it comes to career support, career and professional development, our students have access to faculty in business communications, as well as the dedicated career coaching that they get. It sounds like most of us probably do the orientation and a boot camp at the start of a program with the cohorts as they're coming in, and we certainly do that. We also have ongoing workshops for our students. We spend a lot of time with LinkedIn, certainly, and we have strong alumni connections. We host panels with alums. We see all of these components really as making up the product of career success. So we're pretty proud of what we're doing in that area because we've grown it a lot. We also have created a new career and professional development platform that our students can take advantage of, and it houses all of our resources, all the job and internship possibilities, as well as ways to reach out to coaches and others and get the support that they need. So I would say that's basically our definition of career success.
No, it's a great initiative, and I love the sort of the definition, which of course been something different to each and every one. You've talked about, lots of opportunities, lots of financial rewards that go with some of the positions graduates are securing, but how you define success. And Jennifer, given that level of one-on-one support, I mean, you must really get to know these individuals, their stories, the highs and the lows. As you think about in terms of success and what you would love to see them achieve, do you have countless examples of thinking, wow, that was just a wonderful outcome, given the individual that you'd had the chance to work with?
Sure, and it changes every time, right? I mean, I think we define success as a student actualizing their individual goals, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a different bar depending on who they are and what they came in for. So often it's teaching or supporting the students in how to communicate their added value, right? I feel like that's the biggest measure. They come in and you ask, tell me about yourself, and they just can't do it. And then through their confidence building, through their learning the program, through the coaching, that they're then ultimately able to sit across from an employer or a mentor or some connection, and they can pitch themselves in a way that really articulates their goals, their value, and then ultimately that will turn into whatever their goals are, whether it's to find a job or to relocate or whatever it might be. But I think I would define success the most as their ability to communicate, and I think that's also a very specific goal of the business analytics program, because it's not just can that student push the buttons and do the work, but can they communicate what that data is telling? Can they tell the story? So it comes twofold, right? If you're in an interview and you could communicate your value, well, that's also a window into, can you communicate the value of the data towards the business goals, right? So us, by teaching them how to communicate their value, they're also learning how to communicate the business value, which is where they're ultimately going to be employed.
Right, that's brought us on a sort of a beautiful full circle as we talked about, algorithms and analysis of data and the skills that all of you are providing, and the faculty and what they bring, but this personal journey and how it enables them to perhaps communicate that value. So, final question, Shani, for you. It's one of those big life questions. What do you really love about your work and what you do?
That's the best question. Thank you for asking. I've been in higher education this is my 13th year. I've been in a business school at another university and transitioned to UCLA about 6 months ago. And I'm very blessed and excited to work for this institution. And the work with students is so profound and it's so fulfilling, and the mission to help someone experience success fully, and all the things that everyone described about having a goal, no matter what it is, and choosing me or trusting me to be their partner to accomplish that is a gift. And I love my work, and I often laugh that, you know, I wait for Monday on Friday because I want to be back with the students in the classroom, on campus. And it was never my goal to be in higher education. I have to say that, so our audience will hear that. Sometimes your career is emerging, and I see Ted nodding, and it's comforting. I was also initially hired as an alumna of the schools where I worked before, and they extended an invitation. And it's about saying yes to things, you know, and I want to be that coach with my students and with my community to encourage them to open their eyes, to say yes, to believe, to have faith in a new opportunity. And what then become possible is so beautiful and great and fun, and you find your passion. It happened to me, and so I'm really paying it forward. That's why I'm in higher education. And again, thank you for the question.
No, well, I mean, all five of you, from where we started, we've talked about, you know, students being their own ambassadors. I think as 5 ambassadors for your schools, the programs, just the level of support, enthusiasm, passion that you bring to your work. I did mention how popular these careers panels have proved to be at the Center Court events, and this is just a beautiful example why. I think it just gives candidates that additional insight beyond program skills, the level of support, you know, that you really are with them every step of the way, as you'd mentioned earlier. So Alicia, Holly, Ted, Shani, Jennifer, thank you in such a busy year to have spent this time with us and just give our viewers a better sense of your schools and the fantastic opportunities that you provide. Thanks to all 5 of you for a great panel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.